is Mr. Rob Frank. And Frankie? I'm sorry. Mr. Rob Franke. I asked about everything else except for your last name, but Mr. Rob Franke is going to come up and have a conversation with us and speak to us about empowering ourselves. More importantly, he's going to give us some actual tools of success, and we thank you for being here, sir.
I'm glad to be here.
The floor is now yours.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are y'all today?
Awesome.
Good. Awesome. Glad to hear the awesome. So what am I doing here? I'm the mayor in Cedar Hill. I want to tell you I deeply love the city. I deeply love the path we've been on for many years and where I think God's brought us as a community. But I'm not going to just brag on Cedar Hill. How many of you are from Cedar Hill though? Nobody? Okay, well you're in God's country. We are the highest elevation in the DFW area, in fact North Texas area, so we're closer to the Lord anyway. So how did Indy and I meet? This was probably 2 years ago now, I guess, something like that. I got an email from a lady I didn't know saying, I want my son to meet you and get to know you. I want him to be influenced by good people, which was kind of a compliment. I'm paraphrasing, I don't know if she said exactly that, because my memory's not that good. But that was kind of interesting if you think about it. Why did she just reach out to somebody she didn't know and say, I'd like you to get to know my son and to help mentor and be a part of his life in some way? Why do you do that? Who steps out like that to a stranger? Lord only knows what kind of a person I could be, right? In this day and age. And so, to me, that was incredibly powerful. And it points to a couple of things that I observed about this walk that we have in this world. There's a lot of confusion, right? There's a lot of confusion about men and women, about who's supposed to be strong, who's supposed to be weaker. You can even read the Bible, and frankly, a lot of people will even twist the Bible around, right, in this regard, to confuse us. I read this book many years ago by C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis was a famous Christian writer. Wrote some really neat stories and all that stuff. You see some on TV, Disney's taking them. But he's really a cool author back in World War II and from England. But one of the books he wrote was a scary book. It was really scary. It's called The Screwtape Letters. And I don't know if anyone's read The Screwtape Letters, but let me tell you the gist of The Screwtape Letters. It was a hard book, he talks about, for him to write because it took him to dark places. And this is a man that was an atheist, became a devout Christian, wrote incredible books about the Christian faith and God's grace on us. But this one book he wrote said it took him to a very dark place called the Screwtape Letters. The essence of the Screwtape Letters was a demon talking to his nephew demon. And he got into the mindset of how demons try to work and communicate in our life. And the gist of this, one of the neat lines that I remember from this book was the elder, the uncle, talking to the young nephew, saying, you're getting it all wrong. You're trying to make sense of things. Our job isn't to make sense of things. Our job is just to confuse. And that's kind of this thing that's going on so much in our world of trying to create confusion about who and what we are and what we're supposed to do. How many of you have been in a failed relationship? I have. I've been in a failed marriage. And when I reflect on why that marriage failed, because I know God hates divorce, I know how selfish I was, but I look at so much of the confusion. Because see, Linda was this woman that met in high school, and so it seemed like the cool thing to do back then, to just jump into marriage, being young and stupid. And she had no identity of her own. This poor girl had no identity of her own because I was such an oppressive, overbearing jerk at that stage of my life that she was not allowed to be herself, to have any independence for herself. And I hated her for it. The very thing that I was helping to create, I hated her for it. And she was so young and so put down that she lost her very own identity. What a confusion, what a mess, right? Now, praise God, I'm married to a woman that is very strong-willed, speaks her own mind, loves me unconditionally, will defend me times and places I have no idea that she defended me. she'll also put me in my place. And we have an incredible relationship because we have this identity of who we each are. I don't know where she got that independence, but she is a worthy adversary if I ever go there. But I can't ever go there. I'm smart. I say all that because so much this confusion we deal with of men and women and who and what we're supposed to be really gets confused. Especially since most of you are African American ladies. I don't know that experience. I'm obviously white. I'm working on the tan, but it's never going to get there. And it's always going to be different. And I'm never going to fully understand, but I can fully listen. And part of what we have to create, and create in this place, is that ability to deeply understand and deeply relate. To where I can be fully man and not pigeonholed or not defined by being a white privileged mayor in a majority minority town. Where does that take us? That doesn't take us to a very good place, does it? It takes us to a real confusion thing. But if we can also work on that side of truly loving and understanding each other, it makes a really huge difference. So blessed are the peacemakers, right? That's why I want to tell you guys two things about my entrepreneurial experience. I've been in the big corporate world and have lived that world and have never found peace and satisfaction in the big corporate world. I've always found frustration. I've always found a lack of any fulfillment. I felt like somebody was hooking up a couple of jumper cables to my ears and just draining me of everything that was inside of me. I felt like my blood was being taken from me, that I was just giving out more and more than I was ever getting. And it was depressing. And I struggled with that for many years until I started asking, well, why is it that I love this thing about being mayor that doesn't pay so much more than I love my profession? See, I've been mayor 19 years in this town. Wow. Longer than your kids have been alive. Okay? That's a long time, and I've seen so many changes. Why do I love that so much? And it's been about a year searching my heart of what is it that I love. So then I decided finally, after searching, and Google's amazing because you find all sorts of cool things that you don't even know about. I found out that I think where I want to spend the rest of my life is being a peacemaker. And I went back to school and studied peacemaking. I got a master's degree. I'm an engineer by training, okay? I quit engineering and said, I want to do peacemaking now. I went back to school and studied peacemaking. I will tell you, don't take it as a career because it doesn't pay as well as engineering. Because how many of you have gone out to hire a peacemaker? It's like, what do you even do, Franke? I studied dispute resolution and reconciliation. And it gave me insight into people and how we get into conflict and how we resolve conflict. And one of the great things I found in the entrepreneurial world is the ability to be a peacemaker changes everything. I was with the big companies. The big companies had an attitude of, we know it all and we can tell it to you all. The entrepreneurs have this inherent thing inside of us that says, I want to know what you need and I want to fulfill that need. And we can learn that, by the way. Some of us, it's a natural talent and a gift, but it is a learned skill. And so when you start learning the skill of what peacemaking is, it changes everything. And I have seen more entrepreneurs be really successful in this ability to change from being, I've got something that you want, to, I understand you, and this is what I have that will help you. And this is how we can work together. It's a life-changing thing. Let me give you the definition of peace. I'll close, and then I will ask the Lord to bless this time. My definition of peace is not what most of you think it is. If I asked you to define peace, you would probably say, well, it's the absence of conflict, right? Peace is when things are cool, things are calm, things are smooth. There's no yelling, screaming. You know, is that how you define peace? Probably. We define it as what it is not instead of what it is. Again, that's not what we do. We define what things can be and what things are instead of what they're not. Entrepreneurs figure out what the solution is, not the problems. So, for me, what I've come to believe is that peace is maintaining relationships in the midst of conflict. not to preach, but if you remember, right before Jesus goes into this beautiful prayer in John 17, he closed out John 16 with this great discussion to his apostles of all the troubles they were going to face. It's like, how depressing. All these problems you're going to face. But he closes it with, I've told you these things so that in me you will have peace. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart. I've overcome the world. The key phrase in there is, in me you will have peace. In relationship. So y'all, I'm truly believing the great thing that social entrepreneurs can do. Social entrepreneurship is a whole other discussion. The social entrepreneurs are those people that have a mind for the bigger picture and their role in it. If we take on that attitude of peacemaking, maintaining relationships, even in the midst of conflict, the relationship becomes the important thing. Everything else takes secondary. Look what happens to our differences then. You'll no longer see me as an old fart, white-haired mayor type. You'll see me as Rob, another human being. And all of a sudden relationships form. And then we're able to do great things. If I can encourage you with one thing in this time, it is relationship. That's what Indy started when she sent me an email and said, I want my son to know you. I want to get to know you. She didn't know me at all hardly last year when she invited me to come speak. That's a scary thing. You know, Lord only knows what the guy might say. You know? It's trust. Let me pray for you guys. Father, it's a joy to be here. And I pray, God, that your presence would be here in power and in spirit. That somehow or another, even just little investments in relationships would go a long way. Holy Father, you are a reconciler and a connector. You connect us in ways that we don't even understand. You see the road before us. In fact, you're even in tomorrow before we even get there. And Father, as you're just present here, I pray you'll bless these ladies. I pray, Father, that you'll give them some sense of connection and optimism, the hope that comes from knowing that you're working all things for their good, for those that love you. And Father, as they go about, I pray you'd open all their hearts that they might share. That the speakers here would speak your words, and your words of reconciliation, your words of leadership, your words of strength, your words of individuality, your words of power. Father, would enable them just to do the great things that you have in your mind and your heart. It's for all of us to bring glory to you and just to bring great prosperity to our own lives because we serve a great God. Father, as your presence here, I just pray you'll be joyful. I pray that your spirit will bring great peace, great joy, great love, and more than anything, just great hope and optimism for what lies ahead. Father, bless them in all their pursuits. In Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
And I'm done. Thank you.
Can we give you give one encouragement for the power that you possess, not only in speaking, but commanding attention to a room, facilitating excellence. We want to say thank you on behalf of these professional services. And Ms. Roberts, this is for you. And she is going to present you here.
I have to explain this to my wife.
I know.
Her conference.
And guess what? Here's the bag.
Thank you, sweetheart. Awesome. You brought a book. Did y'all get her book?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
I didn't tell.
Well, God bless you guys. Thanks for letting me come and share a few minutes with you.
Thank you.
You just call anytime, baby.
All right, ladies, are you empowered?
Yeah.
Good. Glad it's working. It's selfie time. Real quick.